Welcome to a podcast about Catholic things. This is Eric, the Ambassador of Common Sense, and I'm here with...
Dan, the Ambassador of Nonsense. Welcome, everyone. Hey, by the way, do you know there's like two different meanings of common sense?
There's sense that... the sense that things you should pick up logically without a whole lot of training.
Right.
And then... I guess there's also things that people commonly know without higher education, maybe.
Or the sense of what is the common sense of things.
Oh,
for example, without prior to the more advanced developments in astronomy and physics, the common sense of how the world worked was that the sun went around the earth.
Okay.
Right? That was the common sense.
Yeah.
So common as in the meaning, kind of, so like there's common sense that if you don't have common sense, you're an idiot, you're a fool. But then there's also common sense as in non-educated sense, the sense of the common people.
Okay.
Not the same as foolishness, but just, things as, taking things as they appear without an educated view of them.
Okay. Well, I think I could claim ambassadorship to both of those.
And that plays a little bit into our topic today, because...
Okay. Yeah, you sent me a text about it, but I said, well, I'll either look it up so that I can come up with some questions. But I didn't do that because I just got home from work like 20 minutes ago. Well, a half hour anyway.
Well, and I wrote some notes, and I'm just hoping that I have a decent enough time's worth of stuff to say about it. Mm-hmm. But we'll have to see. Okay. So the topic that I wanted to talk about. And it's kind of funny because I was thinking about it the other day, specifically in relation to, there's just more and more nuttiness going on in the church. There's this whole thing, and sometimes like seemingly contradictory nuttiness. So you've got, Pope Francis, looking like he's gonna be a like a pope that's out there supporting the gays and stuff, and then you've got this thing from the congregation, which Doctrine of the Faith was it? Was it the CDF or the other one that brought out this thing that said, no, you are absolutely not allowed to bless same-sex couples.
Yeah.
You cannot bless sin. Period. And then we have this thing that's this. Letter from Slim Jim Martin that, he put this little postscript about his ministry to the gays in the church. And then the Pope gave this great big expansive paragraph on that sounds like, he's all for it again. So things like that are coming out. And then of course there's the whole thing with his death penalty thing and the Abu Dhabi statements and so on and so on and so on. And I just got to thinking that a lot of the, what people need to have is confidence in the sense of the faith that the church has always held about these things. So when you see something that appears to contradict that long-standing historic ancient sense of the faith, which is what Sensus Fidei means, that it doesn't disturb you, that you say, okay, I can wait until the moderns figure out what they're really about. I know what I need to adhere to, which is the tradition of the church. And so, but the thing is, what exactly the Sensus Fidei is kind of a mushy topic. And so I thought it might be fun to just kind of bat it around a little bit and see what we can come up with.
Yeah, it sounds kind of mushy. I mean,
well,
and if you've ever had any kind of argument with a traditionalist, you would know that that's the end of the argument because nobody can argue anything. You know what I mean? Traditionalists are very specific and they want everything written down and documented. And if there's okay, so you know what? Let's just get into it.
That's true.
You tell me what this means.
Well, no, that's exactly true because in point of fact, they do that, but the church didn't grow up that way. And in fact, most of the things that have been explicitly defined in one manner or another, whether by a council or a pope or whatever, only got defined because there was an argument about it.
Yeah.
And then those who defined it many times end up pointing to the fact that, well, this is what we've always believed as a church in their justification for defining it the way they did, using the formulation for the definition. But the interesting thing is that when I sent you that text message, and I hesitate to admit this because it probably shows how out of the loop, out of the life of the church loop that I am when it comes to the Vatican, because I hear about the Vatican did this and that, almost exclusively through either people saying, hey, did you hear what Pope Francis did? Or, maybe some podcasts I listen to or something like that. So unknown to me, the church had in 2014, the Vatican had a what was it, like the International Theological Commission or something like that, write a document. Yeah, the International Theological Commission. They wrote a document called Sensus Fidei in the Life of the Church, and it goes through a lot of. It's a pretty good document, surprisingly. Coming out from the current pontificate, but it goes through. It explores the concepts of the Sensus Fidei. It talks about how aspects of it are biblically rooted. It talks about the reality of it in the early Christian life. References to it in the patristic writings.
What is this? Is this an encyclical or?
No. It's just a exploration of a topic. It's not. By
whom?
International Theological Commission.
Okay.
Which is, I think, a commission within the church.
Okay. Yeah, I knew there was a concept like that, but I didn't know it something that was defined. And like I said, because it's still not even defined. What you would call defined. It's more, it's a reality, but it's a reality that doesn't have any firm definitions around it. And yet you can clearly see, and they provide the texts and everything, you can clearly see that what they're talking about as the Sensus Fidei is stuff that was talked about by early saints and patristic writers, by St. Augustine and even Thomas Aquinas and so forth. But what's interesting is that it never gained the name Sensus Fidei. It didn't really get a identity that you could refer to it by as such until Vatican II. It's just that you see that once it has a name, you can go back and look and see, oh yeah, that's what they're talking about when they said this and that and referred to this. So, but we haven't even begun to give it a meaning yet. So why don't we do that? Yeah. Okay.
So strictly, the term Sensus Fidei means the sense of the faith. And a lot of times it's referred to as Sensus Fidei Fidelium, which is the sense of the faith of the faithful, or sometimes they'll just abbreviate it Sensus Fidelium, which is sense of the faithful, but it means the sense of their faith. And it's rooted in the idea that the entire church as a body, not just the clergy, not just the what we now call the magisterial hierarchy, the bishops and so forth, but the entire church as a body, the body of Christ, is anointed by Christ with the Holy Spirit, and therefore, as a totality, we share in the church's, I would say the way I word it is we share in the church's charism of inerrancy and reception of the truth. So it's, even though it's mushy and it's, in any kind of definition sort of way, it nonetheless is an authentic reality in which the truths necessary for salvation, related to faith and morals and especially, the beliefs handed down from the apostles are infallibly preserved in the church. And that's why when you start getting into the councils, with a couple hundred years after the apostles, that's one of the things that the councils appeal to is, well, what did everybody believe? What have we all been doing all of this time? Because that's where the faith was deposited in the body as a whole. And then, of course, the hierarchy is there as a specific teaching authority to give particular definition to aspects of that as needed throughout the church's development.
Okay.
So,
well, but
the thing is,
I guess it's kind of like, I don't know, if you take a household, and, well, say in my house, I'm trying to think of an instance where this would compare to, in my house,
it's extremely,
I'm trying to think of a thing that's not going to insult anyone.
Do we worry about that?
Well,
you mean
it's my
anyone
wife
that we know?
But if,
by the way, are you drinking coffee?
I'm using the Mount Rushmore cup.
Me too.
If a child has some kind of medical problem, now they might come to me and ask me about something because I'm here. But generally, it's known that mom is the one to ask for these things because mom is going to be the one who either gets the answer
Had to go through
or
it with so many other kids, or
takes action to repair the problem. Whereas I'll say, well, just rub some dirt on it or something. But it's
put some alcohol on it.
It's not like anyone spelled this out. It's just the kids are, even by the time they're 10, they know this. And no one tells them this. It's just kind of, for some reason, it's a reality. So everybody knows it. And, if someone were to come to me and say, Dad, I've got this weird mark on my arm. What do you think of that? It would be kind of silly. I don't think anything of it. I'd think, go show your mom. Why are you telling me this? But it's just a sense of the household that if you have a medical problem, you go to mom, not to dad.
That's, I think, exactly an apt metaphor, because you could think of the Sensus Fidei as a tribal knowledge of the church, except on a supernatural level.
Yeah. And at the same time, it's not
and steeped in grace.
It's not like I can't do something for their sores. And it's not like they can't come to me. It's just, it's the accepted rule.
The sense of, right. But there are some things that, that it doesn't mean, that make it more difficult to define. Because, for example, it doesn't mean, obviously, that infallibility, that the special charism of infallibility is applicable to every member of the church. We're not all each individually infallible in any sense. It also doesn't mean that there's a infallibility of popular opinion among the faithful.
Yeah. It's not a vote.
Which is a little bit different. Right. You can't do doctrinal development or doctrinal definition by polling, so to speak.
So it's very unlike the quote accepted science, of things like climate control, where everybody tells you this is accepted science, and it's like, okay, this is accepted teaching, but it's not quite like that. It's not just because
it doesn't
everybody
work
thinks
quite that way. Right.
Right.
But it is a genuine grace of of truth that imbues the entire church. Now, and as I pointed out, and in this document, which, like I said, I'm amazed because I had no idea this document existed until after I sent you the text message saying, hey, I'd like to talk about this. But it points out a number of the councils, and actually popes, and sometimes, a lot of times, like when they poll their bishops, they're not polling bishops to find out what the bishops think. They're polling bishops to find out what does the life of Christians in your diocese say. What is their sense of this? Things like the Immaculate Conception and perpetual virginity of Mary and stuff like that. Well, and a number of the councils in their writings, their definitions of the documents where they say, here's what the controversy is and here's what we declare and so forth, appeal to the constant belief of the faithful in justifying those definitions, as well as some of the early patristic saints. They've appealed to that. And, not just in teaching, but in practice too. So, for example, they might justify a discipline such as the veneration of the relics of saints by showing that, well, it's what we've always done, and therefore it must be a good and pious and holy thing to do.
I wonder if what you're saying has any connection to the poll that Pope Francis had of bishops concerning the traditional Latin Mass, I think it was last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah, that would almost be an anti-Sensus Fidei.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could very well. And there have been times when the laity preserved the teaching of the church more than the hierarchy did. For example, during the time of Arius, there was a period when the various secular princes of the world, as well as a large number of the bishops, were all Arians, believing that Christ, the teaching against the divinity of Christ. But the faithful, as a body, generally did not go with the Arian side. So that's anyway. That just a few points about that. Now, the thing about it though is it inheres in those who are fully grafted into the life of the church. It's not something that applies to those who are just formally members of the church but don't really live the life of the church. You've got to be somebody, to participate in the Sensus Fidelium. You've got to be a true faithful, somebody who participates regularly in the sacraments and
need not
prays
apply.
a lot. And the Creasters, forget it. And that's a big thing. The thing is, it also implies that you also give submission to the definitions, the defined teachings of the church, the doctrines. You submit to the
Grandma's, is that trash?
Yeah, that's trash.
Is all that stuff trash?
Yeah, it's all garbage.
All of it?
Yeah. Sorry, they're taking out the trash. They needed to know what goes out, what doesn't go out. So anyway, you're submitting to the church's teachings, and so if you when somebody tries to point out, and I think this is something that Slim Jim Martin tries in his book or whatever, that he tries to point out, these people haven't this idea of the sense of the faithful. Well, this group of Catholics in the church, the ones who are out there practicing homosexuality and other various perversions, they haven't received this particular teaching. And I think his meaning is to lean into the idea that therefore it's not part of the sense of the faith, and therefore might not be authentic teaching. Well, you can't take a body who are define themselves by rejecting some teaching of the church and then say, see, they don't believe this, therefore it's not part of the sense of the faithful. It doesn't work that way. And that's why I bring up this idea that it really inheres in the body of those who are fully participating in the life of the church. Yeah, and I you know who they are. I mean, it's not like if you're off in a gay pride parade, you're not really Catholic.
You're not part of the. You're not in the. Yeah.
And if you're, but see, I don't know what to say about these priests who are flying the rainbow flag in their parishes. What is this? Because no one, you can't call yourself Catholic and be of this mindset that the way they're doing
this is a good thing to celebrate, promote, whatever.
Yeah, you don't celebrate sin.
And you know what? Those are the priests that you say, oh, okay, I'll receive the sacraments from you, but nothing else.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would say that to be a part of the active life of such a parish probably puts you outside of the full life of the church.
Yeah.
If you're saying, oh yeah, if you've got such a priest, now obviously you might go talk to him if you're a faithful Catholic. You say, hey, what are you doing? This is horrible. You can't fly those gay pride flags. That's inviting sin into our parish. Well, if he doesn't listen to you, then you've got two options. You can either continue to be part of the parish, or you can find another parish. If you're not finding another parish, then what does that mean? You're okay with a priest who approves sins that cry out to God for vengeance?
Right.
That's I think that's a good example.
The thing is, I think it's probably one of those things that if you're going to use it as some kind of proof, it's not something that you can. It's not something that you can get evidence from in modern times. It's historical evidence.
Exactly. Right. That's kind of where I'm going. My main point of this podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is
you did
that
it to me
as
last
Catholics? Week. No, that's the next line in my notes.
Okay.
By the way, guys, I'm reading off notes. I rarely do that, but I'm reading off.
Okay.
Not reading, but playing off of notes. In the next line, we need to do is become familiar with the writings of various ages of the church that reflect the sense of the faith, especially the patristic, aged up through the Middle Ages, and read and understand what did the church believe in these ages. What are the ancient senses of the faith, of various aspects of the faith, of the disciplines and the teachings that we can find, because that's what we need now to help ground us with all of the weirdness going on today. So, for example, you've got denial of communion for manifest public sinners. Well, gosh, you don't have to go too far back to see that that's always been an ideal of the church, that popes, bishops, when you've got a public figure who's manifestly separating himself from the church in some way, he needs to be denied Holy Communion. And now bishops are wringing their hands over it?
Right.
Come on.
And as a matter of fact, in our stories about on our Saints of the Week, not necessarily this week, but I'm seeing it over and over again throughout history of bishops who went against politicians, or we call them politicians, but kings, queens, princes, and other officials, and said, no, you can't come in here. You need to repent first in public.
Penance first. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Public penance. Yeah.
It's a huge thing, and it seems like it's always been there. And we're going back to the 2nd century.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another one is the universal call for everybody to become Catholic. God wants every person to be Catholic. God doesn't want some people. He doesn't want Muslims to go be good Muslims and Catholics to be good Catholics. He wants everybody to be Catholic. And the necessity of baptism into the Catholic Church for salvation.
Now,
that was,
I guess
for several centuries that was a given.
The reason...
Now, we have Protestant churches today.
Yeah.
And we say, well, what about baptism? Well, okay. But here's the thing. If you get baptized as a Methodist or a Lutheran, that baptism is actually a baptism into the Catholic Church. And then what happens is immediately your parents start raising you to live differently than a Catholic life. But it's actually the Catholic baptism that occurs and puts an indelible mark on your soul.
The two paths that we point to here when we say this, because a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand. If I'm baptized by the Baptists, why does that make me a Catholic? Number one, baptism, it's a little bit like the apostolic succession, in the Orthodox Church. They were bishops in the Orthodox Church who may have broken away from the church, but they were still bishops. And so they could still continue to consecrate priests and to elect bishops.
And but make them bishops. Right. So they, exactly. They
have real priests and they have real bishops. And when it comes to baptism, well, two things. Number one, any baptized person can baptize another person as long as they intend to do what the church does, and it is a valid baptism, and it goes all the way back to Catholics. And number two, I don't think you even have to be baptized to baptize someone.
I was just going to say, I was going to say baptism, and in my mind, this actually supports the argument that baptism is necessary for salvation. Now, we've got baptism of desire and baptism of blood that we talk about, you know, like the martyrs, if you're martyred before you get baptized, whatever. But this, to me, supports this idea that baptism is necessary for salvation because it is the one sacrament that even a non-baptized person can confer. Right. That's how important God treats it, that he doesn't even require a baptized person. So if you're, if you've been studying and now they would say, oh, well, baptism of desire may apply in this case anyway, but you've been studying and you get into some kind of dire straits and you're with someone and, well, no, I've never been a Christian or anything like that. But it's like, hey, we're close to death because of this accident we got in, whatever it is. And hey, you know what? There's some water. I want you to do something for me. There's a rite of my church. I want you to perform this rite of my church. And here's how you do it. And he does it intending to do what you said, perform the rite of the church. That's a baptism.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's, again, these are things that the sense of the faith of the ancient Christians were clear on this and continued to be clear for centuries.
And the history part of this is important because it separates the people who, like right now, these gays trying to infiltrate every corner of our church. In the end, when they don't get what they want, they're not going to continue to be Catholic and continue to believe what they believe. They're going to reject Catholics and Catholicism.
Right.
And they're going to going to reject us and they're going to persecute us. That's what happens.
That's exactly.
And history will show that, even if there are some people who are fooled by it now. But that's what's going to happen. And we can see that kind of thing throughout history. And that's why we have to look back on these things, not look at our present day.
Well, and that, yeah. So, a few other points that I had, you've got the wrongness of abortion. That was established from the, apostolic age. Wrongness of homosexuality has kind of always been there. Even, belief in the death penalty. I mean, that's a weird one because you've got people that you would have considered to be well-educated conservative Catholics today who are supporting this weird papal change to the catechism regarding the death penalty.
And
what do you make of that?
There are a couple of saints, and I don't even remember who they were because when the question first came up, I did as much research as I cared to do. But there are a couple of, and I'm going back to 300, who rejected the idea of putting people to death. But but it wasn't a defined thing. It was, and I don't think it was even popes, but there were some people throughout history who rejected the idea of putting people to death.
Okay.
But it's...
Well, maybe we can do a treatment of that one sometime then.
Yeah. But nonetheless, it was... at the same time, there are people who...
in the sense of the faithful. Yeah.
I mean, St. Thomas Aquinas even rejected the Immaculate Conception to a certain degree. Or at least it was his thoughts that Mary was not conceived immaculately.
Yeah.
That was his understanding.
His conception of conception was...
Well, yeah, there's that.
Different, and was part of what was driving what he was saying. If he had had a modern knowledge about that, he probably would not have had that opinion.
Yeah.
But even so...
I'm pointing that out because... Just because there are certain people who believe differently, that doesn't change the general belief of the faithful.
Of the faithful, right. Because the faithful still believed that whatever it meant to be, full of grace, for her whole life, her whole existence, whatever that meant, people believed that.
Right.
As a ancient belief in the church. So, but the thing is, so let's say you start learning these things and okay, so some aspect of the life of the church, it's like, well, I know what Christians have believed for 1,000 years. The first 1,000 years is what everybody thought. And now my bishop is doing this odd thing that seems at odds with it.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you said, you're not going to build up an argument based on the Sensus Fidei and then, get everybody and prove your point and therefore, and it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
But if you keep yourself informed about the ancient church, if you read the doctors and the saints and the patristic writings and so on and so forth, and you have this connection with the long-standing and the ancient faith of the church, then that gives you personal confidence to admonish your bishop, charitably, of course, as needed, speak to your priest as needed, maybe just talk to other people as needed. Well, that we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
If somebody brings up, hey, are you going to join us for our Rainbow Flag Day? It's like, we shouldn't be doing this. I'm not going to join you. We should be going to Father and saying, hey, you need to shut this down. You can have confidence in those based on your connection with the Sensus Fidei of the ancient church.
Yeah. You can have confidence. You can have self-confidence, but now...
Right. That's what I mean. It can... And of course, somebody who's confident is automatically more compelling.
Yeah. Now, the use of this argument, how do I say this? Okay, we're talking about a reality here, and the reality is used as argument in certain church documents.
Kind of like misused, yeah. Sometimes.
But it's something that only the church, that only the magisterium can do when used as a definition.
Oh, right. Faith. It's yes, I see what you're saying. Right. It's not ours to, we can rely on it and try to be part of it because we are part of it. Like I said, that it stems from the reality that the entire body of Christ, as long as we're really living that life in the church, we are part of it. And so we can make sure that we are, conformant to it.
Yeah.
As we see it throughout the life of the church and throughout the history of the church. But in terms of saying, because of this, therefore, and if you don't believe this, then you're straying from the doctrine of the church, yes. Only the magisterial authorities get to make statements like that.
Yeah.
Is that where you were going?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. But sometimes then it starts getting confusing because the magisterium is now trying to tell us that death penalty is a sin, that it's sinful,
or
for
in some cases,
civil authorities to put someone to death, and it's like, well,
for us to support it.
Now, what do you do? Because,
here's my thought on that. So if we see new statements that appear to contradict the long-standing sense of the faith, the clear long-standing sense of the faith, we would never go wrong in terms of obedience. Do this, don't do this. We have to obey our shepherds in the church. We have to obey our bishop and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But in terms of what to know, and even, like I said, it may come to a case where we need to admonish our bishop. Why are you doing this? Don't you see that as your flock, we need this? But in terms of what we know, if we see, some congregation in the Vatican, the Pope himself, our bishop, whatever, coming out with things that appear to contradict the clear, long-standing sense of the faith, what do? We adhere to the sense of the faith, and we trust that God will at some point resolve the apparent contradiction. Somehow, what the Pope is saying, or what our bishop is doing, or what this congregation has put on paper, or this document from this council, somehow God will eventually reveal how that really does match with the ancient belief, and we just didn't understand the new one well enough to see it. So we adhere to the ancient, and then eventually we trust the new one will be seen how it comes in conformity when it's a clear contradiction, or it'll just drop out and fade away. It'll become one of those things, because throughout the church, there's various things that people have said and brought up, and decrees of popes and that kind of thing that are kind of trial runs of this or that discipline or belief or whatever, and it gets kind of dropped by the wayside. It doesn't become part of the life of the church. Well, some of these things may be like that too.
Yeah.
So 100 years from now, the current catechism's form, where it has this weird, goofy, well, now we know better regarding the death penalty, probably will be a kind of a forgotten footnote in the history of the church.
Right.
For example. So that's my point. But we can't just say, oh, I think that's what ancient Christians believe. If you're going to rely on that for your interior stability and your own personal grounding, you have to read.
Yeah, you have
to be familiar with it. That's the bottom line. You can't go back and live the Catholic life around 200 AD or 400 AD or 1000 AD. You have to read it. That's the only way that you're going to know and learn this stuff. And you've got to read the writings of the saints and the church doctors and various council and papal documents.
Yeah.
With a receptive spirit. So,
okay.
That's the end of what I got.
Okay. I can't think of anything to add to that. I guess I have a very small amount of news, but... Well,
that's okay. Let's talk about it.
Okay, there's this Bishop Barron's little talks and...
The interviews?
So, what's his name? The Tim Gordon kind of called him out on this, because Bishop Barron is talking to everyone, and he's saying that he's always open to dialogue.
Okay.
But a lot of, quote, right-wingers have tried to call him into dialogue. And Bishop Barron has rejected them all.
No, why would I talk to you? You're goofy.
But he would talk
I
to
heard
someone
that talk.
Who's
openly pro-abortion.
Yeah.
Like adamantly pro-abortion.
It's okay to kill a baby, but it's not okay to call into question the ruling hierarchy in the Catholic Church.
Right.
So I've got to, and I'm going to put this in the show notes, is that I gotta vote. put a word in, put a vote in, say, yeah, you need to talk to some of these right wingers, some of the other podcasters who would like to call you out on this stuff. First of all, and I just wanted to say something to that effect. But there's also this dialogue with pro-abortion people. I personally don't get it. I
don't either.
We've been dialoguing
it's
for
pure
years.
pandering.
It's been 50 years.
It's nonsense. Nobody, not even Bishop Barron, expects it to yield fruit. It's pure pandering.
Yeah, I don't.
And
if they want a dialogue, then they can. Look, here's the thing. Jesus was pretty clear when he sent the apostles out. He said, "Go into town and preach to them, and if they reject you, leave. Don't keep opening dialogue with them. Shake the dust from your feet."
Yeah.
And
as a testament against them.
Yeah, against them. This is
as a testament against them.
The apostles were the first bishops. This is what bishops are called to do.
Right.
And it's not just that. In Matthew 7, he says, "Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs."
Yeah, don't cast pearls before swine or anything like that.
Well,
even Jesus...
I'm starting to see the reason for this.
The few times that Jesus dialogued with his enemies, who were going to continue to be his enemies, of course he could have confidence that he can do this because he's Jesus, he's God.
Yeah.
But he always made them look stupid. He didn't pull punches with just pointing out how stupid they are.
Yeah.
And making them look ridiculous. He embarrassed them. If they were not people who were going to convert, he just openly embarrassed them and made them look stupid. That was his style of dialogue.
Yeah.
Now, of course, he knows who's going to convert and not, but my point is, we have an example in our Lord himself how to dialogue with the enemies of the church.
That's the big thing, is that these are enemies, and it's time that we start seeing them as enemies.
Treating them as some, yeah.
When someone believes killing babies is okay, it's okay to treat that person as an enemy.
Of the church.
No, I'm not going to dialogue with you. I'll argue with you publicly, and I'll destroy you.
That's right.
And maybe if you're actually interested in why we teach the things we teach, maybe sit down with one-on-one, not public though, and talk about it. But this whole dialogue notion, I think, is just outright silly.
Right.
So I just wanted to point that out.
Pure pandering. I unfortunately introduced and very, very popularized by Pope St. John Paul II.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one who kind of made that a big thing.
Yeah,
but I think I don't even think his conception of it was quite as bad as what the modern hierarchy are doing.
Probably not. For example, he came to America when Bill Clinton was president. I think it was one of the last times he came to America. And Bill Clinton was going to meet him at the thing. And, the reporters are like, "What are you going to say? What are you going to say?" He said, "No, we're not going to talk politics." Because they said, "Are you going to talk about abortion?" He said, "We're not going to talk about politics." As if politics is abortion. Abortion is politics.
As if abortion is a political question. Right.
Killing babies is political now.
Yeah.
Pope John Paul II gets off the plane and immediately talks about abortion. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't at all afraid of it.
That.
And he wasn't at all okay with it. He pointed out the evil of abortion. I don't know if someone like Pope Barron would do this. And he didn't act like there was some kind of
not
room
in that
for
scenario.
Room for give or anything. Room for
negotiation or something like that.
It's just wrong. So leave it at that. Speaking of nonsense, Nancy Pelosi is doing some really weird things. She has decided to open up satellite offices of the Capitol Police in regions that they have no jurisdiction in response to the quote 9/11, or not 9/11, January 6th, 1/6 attack.
How does she think that works? I mean, this is what I'm going to say it again, and I'm going to keep saying it. Democrats don't govern, they play at governing. They're like a bunch of kids playing house that don't understand the rules, and they have no conception of what a real head of household does and what managing a real house is like. They're like a bunch of kids that have no sense of the boundaries. I mean, that's like if Columbus, Ohio decides we're going to open a satellite, the police department, we're going to open up a satellite in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
You think the Cincinnati police and judges are going to honor warrants and arrests and so forth by the Columbus police now? They're going to say, what are you doing? You're out of your jurisdiction. Get out of here.
Especially for cops, because cops are very territorial.
Yeah, and appropriately so.
Yeah, they should be. It's good that they are. So I don't know.
We'll see how this is going to go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think there's a part of that we don't understand yet. I don't know what
it could be. I mean, it might. Maybe it's a negotiation with local police. You know, maybe it's like, well, we're going to embed them with the state National Guards or something like. I mean, maybe it's something stupid like that.
Yeah, and it could be it could be kind of a blackmail thing. You don't get federal funding if you don't.
Unless you accept our DC police.
I mean, I think Trump tried to do that with the ICE agents. Of course, ICE did have jurisdiction in all of these cities, but
yes,
I don't know. I guess we'll see. Also, I don't know if you've got it on your nonsense news or not, but Biden is going to have people going door to door, I guess, to find people who haven't been vaccinated. And
I don't have that on my list.
Tell them how.
What? In case you didn't know, you can go to your local drugstore and get a vaccine.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. I've been bombarded with it from every direction for the last 4 months, but thanks for the tip.
But I haven't been listening to anyone. I've been walking around with my earplugs in, not knowing that I can get vaccinated.
What? Really? I get vaccinated? He's so stupid.
Vaccinated for what? Oh, COVID's still going on? That thing?
Oh, my.
Crazy. Alright, I got more nonsense. The United Nations World Meteorological Organization confirms that a record high temperature of 64.9 degrees Fahrenheit has been recorded in Antarctica at the Esperanza base. So,
so what was the previous record and when was it recorded?
Yeah, they didn't tell us that, but maybe I could find this.
Because it's like, okay, if there was a new high this year, and there was, and that beats the high that was recorded 3 years ago, and that beats the high that was recorded 6 years before that, and that beats the high that was recorded a year before that. Okay, you've got a trend, and maybe concerning. But if it's like, okay, here's a high. The last time we had a recorded new high was 83 years ago.
Wait a minute. Just don't. 69.4 degrees. I think they got their numbers wrong.
Oh, really?
Wait a minute. They rejected an even higher reading of 69.4 reported in February last year because it was an automated monitoring station. So they don't like that one. They're saying that the previous record was 63.5, which is about 1 degree lower in 2015.
Okay.
For that, it was 67. Wait a minute.
67.
Okay, there was this was further away from the.
Oh, from the base.
From the base, so
the South Pole.
They're not counting that one, which I can see. Let's see. Yeah, that's the only ones I can find. The average is about the average temperature is minus 76.
What's the average summer temperature?
At the highest parts of the interior. So I guess the pole, not quite the pole, but the highest part of the interior of Antarctica is the average temperature is minus 76 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
That's pretty dang
But
cold.
on this particular base, what's the average?
Yeah, they're not telling
Yeah,
us what
I'd
the
love to store
average
my
is on
food
the
there. It
base.
would last forever, wouldn't it?
Yeah. They are not telling us what it is at the base.
Okay, probably
But-
because it's not that remarkable.
Yeah, I don't think this is very remarkable. But if you think about it, the whole world's warming up a little bit, and they said it's only supposed to get 2-3 degrees warmer. So if you get your maps out and pull up huge chunks of Russia, huge chunks of Canada, Alaska,
Yeah.
Greenland, all that icy area that is basically uninhabitable. I mean, there are people there, but there are
But,
people there
yeah,
the way
but-
there are people in the desert. It's not an area anyone would live. So eventually we're going to be able to live there. It opens
Oh,
up
that'd be cool.
a whole new living area for us if this is true.
Yeah, and who knows? It might turn out to be nice arable land too.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Within 100 years, that might be farmable. That would be cool.
That would be awesome. Let's
Of
keep
course, the
heating
climate
this
change. What
planet
would
up.
it be cool?
Use spray
But,
deodorant.
No, it is true. I once did a calculation about the ice thickness on Antarctica, and possibly, I mean, this was early internet. My numbers might have been wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
But I ran a quick calculation because Antarctica is mostly ice that's on land. It's not like the North Pole, which is a great big, the Arctic Sea,
Yeah.
which is frozen. Antarctica is a land, and ice is on the land. Of course, it's depressing the land because there's so much of it. But the calculation I came up with, oh gosh, this was probably 25 years ago, is that if you were to take all the ice on Antarctica and spread it like butter, or what's better than butter? Whipped cream. On
peanut butter.
on all the oceans, huh?
Peanut butter.
Butter's good. Okay. Peanut butter. Spread it like peanut butter on all the oceans of the world. Okay, throughout the world.
Which is what would happen
You
if
would
the
have-
ball melted.
You would, well, kind of. You would have about 100-foot thick spread of peanut butter.
Have a what?
100-foot thick spread of peanut butter on all the oceans of the world.
All
so
of Antarctica
coastlines would
would
change.
100 feet
Yeah,
more
Thick.
of water. That's a lot.
100 feet thick. Yes. Coastlines would doubtless change. But the amount of warming required to do that, like you said, look at all the other land that does open up as a result.
Yeah.
And there are people who think that once upon a time, that's what the world was more like. Like, kind of like the whole world was like, Central California.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, you look at,
Which would be awesome.
the deserts now, they're saying used to be underwater and were,
Mm-hmm. Right.
obviously,
so,
the
things change.
land,
Things will continue to
change.
change.
Yeah.
And
I don't,
people adapt.
yeah, it's
Give
not
us some
like
credit.
it's not like it's gonna flood the earth tomorrow. I mean,
Right.
over the next, say, 200 years, if the coastlines come in a little bit, people who once lived there would be like, oh, I'm going to move over here because that water's
Yeah.
getting too darn
And-
close. Or
Some big resort companies, maybe they'll lose their investment in some of these
Yeah.
coastal resorts.
Those
Okay,
poor-
well, what do you do?
those poor rich people who can afford coastland property.
Exactly.
I mean, give me a break. Who cares?
Right. And, who knows what other cool things we'll discover in the earth as the change occurs. I mean,
Yeah,
No.
I mean, we go up to Greenland and we start digging it up and we find all kinds of cool things
wow.
as we're developing it. And then,
now, all of that aside, it has always been a dream of mine to take like a ship, one of those ship trips down to Antarctica, like a National Geographic ship or something
Really?
like that. Yeah, I would love to go down to Antarctica. Spend maybe a month there.
I have no desire to do that.
No desire at
at
all, do you?
I think I'd rather
I also
visit the desert.
I would like to do an Alaskan cruise too. I'd like to take a helicopter and land on a glacier, stuff like that.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I
don't know what it is. The cold, desolate lands. I would love to be there with a group of people and kind of just explore and learn about it and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, so there are 10 people indicted by a court at the Holy See for embezzlement, money laundering, fraud, extortion, and abuse of office. One of those being Cardinal Giovanni Angelo Besio.
Okay.
I don't know who that is, but they mention him by name as if he's someone important. So
he's a cardinal.
Yeah.
So are these are indicted in the Vatican by Vatican procedures. These aren't this isn't Italy indicting. This is a church matter,
right?
Ecclesial matter.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay. That is. I did not know that. I bet we'll see some podcasts come out. You know who will give a deep analysis of this is probably Dr. Taylor Marshall, and then Timothy Gordon is going to have a different analysis of it.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing is, I think it's. I don't know. I think I think these guys are probably just scapegoats. I mean,
could be.
There's so much going wrong up there, and it's like. Okay, so
it's
you
been
got
clear
10 people
that there's
get in trouble, and we'll see if they actually go to jail.
Ever since
or
Pope Benedict resigned, there's been more and more and more, evidence of an interior rot within the Vatican.
Yeah. So there's the Taliban is warning that foreign troops must leave Afghanistan. By the deadline of September 11.
Oh, wow.
While the U.S. military,
deadline. Of course, that was carefully chosen by them.
Yeah. So, but see, Biden's talking about keeping 1,000 troops in at an embassy at the international airport there. So these poor troops are sitting ducks. I feel really bad for them.
Just 1,000?
Yeah, what are you going to do with 1,000 troops? I mean,
either commit
to
the project that we're going to. Yeah,
they can't really protect. This is like Vietnam.
Yeah, commit or get out.
It's the same thing. There was that ambassador who refused to leave. Everybody's telling him, "Look, they're going to come and kill us," and he just wouldn't leave. And they left a small amount of troops just to protect the embassy. And then they were overrun, and everybody there was killed.
Same thing's going to happen.
They got most of them out, but you can see videos of how chaotic it was as they were trying to get out. And I mean, they're telling us that all the Americans got out. I don't believe that for a second. But it's like these people are asking for trouble. I wish.
Yeah, you got to either commit or get out. This is it's like I'm going to bring up two movies now. So everybody has seen The Karate Kid, right?
Oh yeah, Karate Kid.
And Miyagi's asking at the very beginning. Miyagi asking, I forget exactly how he phrased the question. Are you ready to learn karate? It's like, I guess so. Yeah. He's like, no, guess so. If no, okay. If yes, okay. If guess so, you're going to get crushed.
Ralph,
you got to be in or out.
Ralph Macchio did not have the benefit of being able to watch Karate Kid.
No.
I became a karate expert the day after Karate Kid came out. I could.
How many fences did you paint? I went and waxed 36 cars. I was ready.
Yeah. Just like I learned how to box as soon as Rocky came out.
That's right. Anyway, so the other movie I was going to bring up, this is a little bit on a more serious note. Did you ever see the movie Rules of Engagement? It's a pretty good movie. Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson. And the reason it came to mind is because it's a similar kind of situation, although the ambassador himself was a kind of a cowering simp in it. But an embassy is getting overrun by, in this case, it's in the Middle East, and hostile locals. And so the Marines go in to extract the ambassador and his family. And while they're there, the locals, are all like, they're pulling out the guns and stuff. The crowd has guns. They're firing on the embassy. And so the commander in charge of the detail that's extracting the ambassador, because they're pinned down, orders his men to fire on the crowd. Rightly so. Right. And then what happens is it becomes a political, am I allowed to say shitstorm?
Yeah.
And so the president and the secretary of state conspire. They have a tape that completely vindicates their guy. They destroy it and say, no, we're going to prosecute him because they don't want to deal with the international politics of it and pressure and so on and so forth. Anyway, Tommy Lee Jones is Samuel Jackson is the commander in charge of the detail. Tommy Lee Jones is a alcoholic, retired Army attorney that's a friend of Samuel Jackson's character. He goes and pulls him back in to represent him, that kind of a thing. So it's actually a pretty good movie.
Well, but it's what we're asking for, because the people who are there are either going to have to kill a bunch of people or they're going to be killed.
Yeah.
And these troops who are there didn't ask for this.
No.
What kind of idiot ambassador thinks this might turn out okay? Why isn't the ambassador saying, I'm not going to stay here?
Get us out of here. Send 10,000 troops or get me out of here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the Taliban that flew airplanes into buildings on our soil.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, the whole concept of, let's go in and establish democracy, blah, 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 in Iran and Afghanistan and so on. That whole idea was stupid anyway. If we were going to go in, we should take it over. Obliterate them and take them over. Or obliterate the government and said, okay, you people figure it out, but the one thing you dare not do is attack U.S. soil again. That would have been okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're getting out, the Taliban's building up, and we're supposed to be leaving the governing authority, handing it over to the Afghan government. But guess what? Over 1,000 Afghan troops abandoned their posts on Sunday.
The ones who were supposed to be the replacement.
Yeah, the army is running off the same way that they did in Vietnam. As we started leaving, the Vietnamese soldiers knew that they were going to be overrun, and they ran. Well, a lot of them did.
Jeremy, my son, was in Iraq. And I mean, his role in the military was, he's retired now, but he was a police. And in Iraq, they were there to train the Iraqis in, the art of policemanship and that kind of stuff. So he worked with prison guards and, Iraqi prisons and so on and so forth, especially military prisons. And he developed friendships there and everything, but guys that he would, he was friends with while he was there, they would candidly say, I know you guys are training us everything, but as soon as you leave, we're just going to kill the prisoners anyway, because they're political enemies.
Yeah.
You can't change the culture of a people.
Right. Yeah. And there are some rocket attacks on Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq.
Okay.
Where U.S. troops are housed. 2 personnel were injured. Don't see any
Anyone
deaths.
killed? Okay.
Doesn't look like it. This is the news source for this is Al Jazeera, and you never know.
Oh, how much? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know, but
whatever it is, boy, I'd feel a lot better if Trump were in office.
Yeah, I wish. I mean, if we could get past the next 3 years without.
Yeah, then maybe.
I don't. It doesn't matter. They're not going to let us win anymore. So I don't know. I hate to be so pessimistic about this, but they literally stole the damn election. What, I mean...
I know, but the Supreme Court just upheld Arizona's election integrity laws.
Yeah, I know.
That was a good thing. I mean, we'll see how significant it is and how it plays out.
I mean, okay, they broke the law anyway. Why are you passing more laws?
That's true. It's like, yeah, but the law, the new laws establish regulations that make it harder to break the laws without getting caught. That's the point.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the news I got.
All right. Well, I got a few things. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So kind of following on the political thing, is dunderhead too strong a word for Biden? I mean, he's such a numbskull. In the wake of these various cyber attacks, Biden sends Putin a list of 16 infrastructure entities that are off limits to Russian cyber attack.
Oh,
hey,
well, that's
Putin,
good.
We're gonna you better not attack one of these 16 things.
Or we'll be really, really mad.
What a stupid president! You can attack other stuff here, but not these 16.
I've got a list on my door of all the things people are not allowed to steal. The money that's in the safe behind
funny.
The photograph on the wall.
Yeah, you're not allowed to take that.
You can't take that. Everything else is up for grabs, but
you can take all of the jewelry except for the $3,000 diamond ring that's in this particular drawer.
The thing is, nobody believes he's doing this. It just...
Yeah, he's a puppet. He's like mentally gone.
There's always talk about who is actually running the show, and
I don't know. It's like Kamala Harris puts on her Biden suit, zips it up, and goes and plays Biden for a while, and then she unzips it and goes back to being Kamala Harris. It's got to be something like that.
I think that I think it's bureaucrats. I think those are the people running the country because they've been running the country for a long time.
They have. Yeah.
It's just we've had public figureheads.
Absolutely.
But
in fact, that's why Trump was so hated.
Now they have complete control because that's how stupid the decisions are. It's people like that because you
what
don't
do they
get.
Say,
it's just idiotic.
A camel is a horse designed by committee. Yeah, that. But that's why Trump was. That's why Trump was so actively opposed, not because of his particular politics, but because of his threat to that bureaucratic rulership of the country.
And this is like the rise of the bureaucrats. We've done it. We've defeated this guy who was threatening us. So let's govern now. And look at the total nonsense of everything they're doing. And the if it were just stupid, that would be okay. Even though they're putting the country at risk because they're idiotic, they're selling us out to China, and they're making war in the East now. But aside from that, they're evil. They're really, really evil people. The things they're doing are just evil. The people who are in jail because of the January 6th... Oh,
the whatever, January 6th...
The things they're doing to them, and it's like they don't even care. We can all see it. Yeah, we know they're doing it, and they continue to do it.
And they still don't care. Exactly.
And nobody's...
That's what's so scary, is the fact that even what would normally be a pressure of public opinion doesn't seem to be affecting them at all.
Not at all.
Which goes back to your point. I mean, they must be so confident in their security over the elections and coming elections that's why they don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, so what? We're going to get our guys in office anyway. They're not going to punish it. They're going to let us do what we want. Exactly.
And it's my opinion that if we did get a Republican in office, it would be like back to the Bush days. It would just... He wouldn't really be a publican.
Yeah, gosh. He was so ineffective.
Certainly wouldn't be a Christian.
Gosh, Trump was effective, more effective than both Bushes put together, and maybe even Reagan.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
We would end up with another. Yeah,
sucks.
Okay. All right. Anyway, back to nonsense. Okay, so a crate of about 100 homing pigeons fell off a truck around Daytona Beach. It was late at night, and normally the birds will just roost at night and hold their place, and then in the bright daylight they'll go and do whatever they do. I guess if they're homing pigeons, they fly home,
they probably
right?
Go home.
But they don't have a home, and so what was happening is that the lights from cars were startling them, and they were flying out in front of the cars and making it so people couldn't drive. They had to pull over.
What do you
eventually.
mean that they don't have homes?
Well, they couldn't figure out where their home was.
Okay, because it's night.
Because it's night, and because they were being transported. Maybe I don't know.
Well, that's how
I don't know what a
works.
homing pigeon really is.
So you have a pigeon, and you raise it. Well, let's pretend we're a military base and we're at war.
Yeah, but you're talking about carrier pigeons, not homing pigeons, or are they the same thing?
That's what the homing pigeons are.
Oh, okay.
I thought. You know what? Now that you say that, but I've always considered them the same thing.
Let's find out.
That's
what Google's for.
Okay. For the sake of listeners, I'll continue with the description of a homing/carrier pigeon. You have a military base. You have a huge crate of pigeons who are living there and receive food and everything every day, and they know that as their home. Your captain goes out into the field to do war, and he needs to give updates to the base, to the command center. So he takes one of those pigeons, ties a note to it, and lets it go, and it carries that message back to the base.
Right.
No matter where he is,
and
they're able to get back to the base.
What you're describing are homing pigeons.
Okay.
And they were bred for their speed and ability to always return home. A carrier pigeon, which the name might make you think that's used to carry notes, but it isn't. A carrier pigeon was bred for its beauty. A different breed than a homing pigeon.
Oh,
so
but
these
they're not
are
homing
pigeons who ought to be able to find their way home.
Yeah.
But the news article says it's the worst case scenario, homing pigeons that can't find their home.
Maybe it was just because it was dark, and maybe they used the sun.
That's what I'm thinking. It was like, I think it was all over within a night, but the county animal control officer said, hey, we're hoping someone out there might have some information on where they came from or the truck that was carrying. They didn't, as of the writing of this article, they didn't even know where they came from because
they don't even
weren't
know where
banded.
they came from. Oh, it could have been like somebody who was breeding them and driving them somewhere, and I don't know.
Oh, that might, yeah.
Maybe got in an accident.
A controlled breeding, you got to have a license or something. So,
or they were drunk.
Yeah, I don't know.
Didn't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Or just stupid about how they packed the truck.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Well, all right. What else?
Okay, this next one is kind of fun. So, a mom in New Zealand. You were there the other day, and our cousin had his non-alcoholic beer.
Yeah.
Okay. And apparently, and this was a shock to me. Huh?
I said it actually tasted pretty good.
I didn't taste it, but it was a shock to me to learn that you have to be 21 to buy it, even though it's non-alcoholic.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He said that's one of these stupid rules that states have. Even though there's no alcohol in it, you got to be 21 to buy it because it has the word beer on the label or something like that.
All
I don't know.
States?
Real stupid. I doubt it's all states. Probably some states are a little more sensible.
There's got to be some that have a little bit of sense.
Yeah. Anyway, so here's a mom in New Zealand who thought it would be fun. She's packing up lunches for her kids. Yogurt, sliced apples, biscuits, chocolate muffin, and a can of non-alcoholic vodka. And she tweeted it. And
wait a minute.
Boy, the storm that arose against her because of that. People calling her such a bad mom and stuff like that.
So, is there an actual thing that you can buy that says non-alcoholic vodka? Or did she just, label the bottles that?
It looks to be a legitimately labeled can of non-alcoholic vodka placed neatly inside it. It looks to be legitimate. Like, that's what it really is.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's in a can.
That's the thing. It's in a can.
Maybe it's just a joke thing.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the can itself is a joke, and here's why. Because the reason this is so funny to me is because for a long time, the legal definition of vodka, at least in the United States, has been neutral spirits distilled or treated after distillation with charcoal or other materials so as to be without distinctive character, aroma, taste, or color.
Huh.
Vodka is by definition without any particular character, smell, taste, or color. So, non-alcoholic vodka is basically water.
Yeah, that's all it can be.
Now,
it's probably got some flavor in it or something like that.
Some kind of flavor. Now that's, like I said, that was the United States law.
Uh-huh.
As a trivia follow-up, the United States law has changed to allow vodka to have a certain amount of sugar, like so many milligrams per liter, and a certain amount of citrus flavor. So it can still be called clean vodka if it's got a little bit of citrus and a little bit of sugar to give it a little bit of character, but it's still basically a neutral spirit. The idea is that it doesn't bring its own flavor. You're supposed to mix it with stuff to add flavor to it, you know.
Well, so you remember they used to sell candy cigarettes?
Yeah, can't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. They're candy sticks. It's so gay.
Candy sticks.
I wonder if they still sell candy cigars. Or gum cigars. Remember
Gum cigars? I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I do remember that. You'd pass out like when you had a baby. Boy or a girl, the pink and the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were really just chewing gum sticks, but I wonder if you can
have
get
those
this. Hold
still.
on. Are you sure?
Yeah.
I was going to go to Amazon and see if okay, if you're sure I will.
It looked like I could order them, but I don't see candy. I see king size candy, but they don't say candy cigarettes on the boxes the way they used to.
Oh, yeah, you can do El Bubblegum cigars. I guess you can only buy them Mexican. You can get It's a Girl and It's a Boy cigars, 36 count. Okay, so they at least have those still.
Well, anyway, you used to be able to buy candy cigarettes, and we would walk around with them, and we'd act like we're smoking.
Act cool like we're smoking. And,
hey, I got a cigarette.
And the little bit of, they would have that tiny bit of, because of how they were manufactured, that little bit of powder on them that you could always blow, like looked like a little puff of smoke one time.
Yeah, and then the end of them was pink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to look like
look like an ash,
like a burning ash, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still like those. I think it's the same candy. You can buy them, but they're not called candy cigarettes anymore.
Wait. If you go to candystoreforme.com has what they call World Candy Cigarettes.
Yeah, but it doesn't say.
Hold on, let me see if it says candy cigarette on the box. Come on, close it.
It does. It just says candy.
Okay, well, hold on. There's one right here. Come on.
They look a little bit like candy cigarettes, but they're not candy.
You're right. What they are is it's in a box that looks like a cigarette box. They just don't have the word cigarette anywhere. And that's so stupid. Isn't that typical of the modern, what would you call it? The modern nanny state. That words have more significance than reality.
Yeah.
You can sell the same thing, you just can't put the word cigarettes on it.
Yeah. I don't know. Everything has gotten so stupid nowadays. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the old antique ones. They say Lucky Strike, L&N, cool, and they say candy
Oh,
cigarettes.
cool. The real, yeah,
Pall Mall.
and the real brands too.
Yeah. Oh well. What are you gonna do? People are stupid, and people get mad if you have,
All right.
I don't know, fake beer, near beer.
Near beer. All right. Next we have, okay.
Let's see.
So a guy in Oregon, Portland's, they had a shooting incident where a guy fired 29 bullets into a apartment building before somebody crept up behind him and bashed him with a stick, wrestled him to the ground, got the gun away, and then pummeled him with his fists until he was unconscious, and then other people came around and hogtied him until the police got there.
So did he kill anyone?
Apparently not. Nobody. In fact, the only person injured in the incident was the gunman.
How? 29 bullets?
I know he was shooting at the side of an apartment building, though, not into a crowd or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think it's just funny though when somebody. I always think it's funny when somebody beats up,
Shooters.
somebody, shooters or whoever, like especially with these riots and stuff. You see the
lucky
videos of like
it was in Portland, Oregon.
I know that's what I'm
if
thinking.
If it were anywhere else, he would have just gotten shot.
Policeman would have come and just shot him, or
Yeah.
a citizen would have just shot him.
Here's the thing: I wonder how many of these shootings are ended by a citizen shooting the person that we aren't told about.
More than the gun control lobby would like us to know. Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, that's one of the things I used to get, like Guns and Ammo magazine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that was one of they always featured a few in the news, stories about a,
Self-defense.
self-defense kind of, or somebody who happened to have a gun and be trained with it, stepping in during a incident, stuff like that. It happens more often than people would like us to know.
Okay.
All right, the next one, it's not funny, but it's kind of interesting. It's actually a Walmart story, although it's not a Walmart shopper story. So a deer walked into a Walmart in Wisconsin. He was, I guess, wandering around. I don't know why the guy bothered to restrain the deer, but one of the staffers grabbed the deer and was holding him to the ground until
oh wow!
People arrived. Are you looking at it? I sent you the link.
Yeah, I saw the.
Weird, isn't it?
Is that a girl? Is that a girl holding on to him? That's a girl. That's a woman.
She's got a bun, doesn't she? Yeah, look at that.
That is one tough chick. Do you know how strong those things are?
I can't imagine what. But the thing is, the way she's doing it looks like she's got a little bit of confidence. She must know what she's doing or something.
She sure looks like she knows what she's doing.
The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources tells Fox News that people should not repeat the actions shown in the clip.
Right. I mean, it's a small white-tailed deer, but not real small. Are you
sure it's a whitetail?
You know what?
Well, I mean, because I'm looking at the ears, I wonder if it's a mule deer. Does it say what kind? I'm reading. I'm scanning the article.
I hear mule deers are a little bit less wild.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
But,
it doesn't say what kind of deer it is in the article.
No, but I'm looking at the tail there. It does have.
It does have a white tail.
But the thing is, I always wanted to, when we were young, we went hunting, and after a couple of years, I got kind of tired of hunting. I just don't like doing it anymore. But I kept going for a while because I wanted to try to capture a deer. I wanted to try to actually catch one, or fight one, or stab one, or something. But I knew that when push came to shove, I'd probably chicken out at the last minute because
good reason.
Yeah, I see videos of deers attacking full-grown men, and they get their butts
you would
kicked.
never want even one with a small rack. You would not want to encounter. Directly.
Well, this one in the video is a doe. Well, it's either a doe or
it looks
it's
like a
young
doe.
male. But
Right.
still, I mean, they can kick and they can hurt you. This woman jumped right on that, didn't she? Hats off. I would not have... Rebecca Pickle.
Is that her name? Did they put her name in here?
Wisconsin Department says not...
Rebecca Pickle via store...
oh, no, that's the reporter.
Oh, that's probably
okay.
the
We don't
the
know
Fox
her
News
name.
reporter. Okay.
Well,
anyway, good job.
Wow.
Anyway, that's the last one I got.
All right. Well, we did pretty good. We got this done in an hour and a half. Oh, no. We're not
That's
done.
shorter than usual. Uh-oh.
Saint of the Week.
Oh, that's right. We got to talk. Who'd you pick?
Abacarazum. Abracadabra. Abakerazum. Also called Kirjun. Kirdjun. I don't know. They keep saying this. They'll give other names for the saint for some of these really old ones. And
also
they're not,
known as Abacarazum.
Yeah.
Robber converted to Christianity.
Also, the good thief. So, okay. You know, and in the Eastern Rite, huh?
He was
in the
martyred.
Eastern martyred. Yeah, he is a martyr. In the Eastern Rite, you see a lot of the bishops wearing. What are the hats that bishops wear? Is that a mitre?
The mitre, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them have.
Which, by the way, sideline. So, like in your heart, you have what's called a mitral valve. It's got like two cusps that come together. It's called a mitral valve because it resembles a bishop's mitre.
Oh, I did not know that. Well, anyway, a lot of Eastern bishops wear gold decorated mitres, and they're real fancy and it looks to an average person probably like vanity, but it's not. This goes back to the
Saint Abacarazum. Saint
it's
Kirjan.
the 200s. So, in the 200s, I don't know who was emperor at the time, but the Roman emperor was killing Christians. They would go back and forth around that time. You know, you'd get one who was lenient, then you'd get one who wasn't, then you'd get one who was actually Christian, and back and forth. But at the time, this guy was kind of a well-known thief. And so he got caught, though, and he gets arrested, and he goes to jail. Now, I'm going to assume that he was going to be in jail a long time.
Okay.
And also in jail were Christians, because Christians were being jailed at the time. So they convert him, and he converts to Christianity, and he decides, to him, this is an act of faith. He's going to escape from jail. But the thing is, he's not just going to escape. He's going to escape so that he could go and publicly declare his faith. This is something that the first 3 centuries, a lot of Christians did. You became a Christian, and maybe you kind of hid it for a while, but eventually it was a thing. I'm going to go confess my faith. And what? And be a martyr. That's just something they do. But he's going to escape from jail and confess his faith in Alexandria. Now, he goes there, and he's able to break out of prison because it's what he does. He picks locks and he's good at hiding.
Okay,
so he gets out of jail, and instead of going straight and confessing his faith, he decides he's going to play a trick. There's some kind of festival for Sol Invictus. This is the unconquered sun god. And in front of everyone, he runs up to this idol and steals the headdress. Then he takes it and gives it to the bishop. Now, the bishop wears it around town in mockery of the idol.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
because bishops
eventually,
had grit back then.
huh?
Because bishops had grit back then.
Yeah, bishops had they were tough, and they didn't mind mocking pagans. It was, again, here we come back with this. He's publicly mocking their beliefs because he knows their beliefs are wrong and he knows they're evil. So
and they are deserving of mockery. So
he wears the headdress around town until they're both arrested eventually and put to death. But that is where the Eastern gold miters come from.
Oh, so even today they wear them.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Both as a honor to Saint Abacarazum and continued mockery of paganism.
To mock the pagans.
Nice.
Boy, wouldn't it be neat if we had bishops like that? Bishop Barron goes around and mocks.
It'd be neat if we had a pope like that too.
Wow, that'd be incredible. And there's no danger anymore. It's like, okay,
I know.
Now
it's
you
like,
don't do it. Why? Because people
somebody
don't like
might not
you?
like me.
Or,
What? What's that? That reminds
so
me.
much was at stake then, and
it's a stupid movie. But have you ever seen The Money Pit with Tom Hanks?
The what?
The Money Pit.
The Money Pit. No, I haven't seen it. Okay,
it's a stupid movie with Tom Hanks. But anyway, at one point, Tom Hanks wants a loan to buy this house. And of course the movie is a lot of caricatures and stuff like that. But he has this guy that he knows. He's really just a kid. And the kid is rich beyond all get out. They never explain why the kid's rich or anything like that. He's just going to go to him for the loan. And finally, he's like, well, why should I give you a loan? And Tom Hanks basically says, because if you don't, I won't like you anymore. And the kid almost tears up and gives him the loan. That's how our modern bishops are.
Yeah.
Like that kid.
I mean, what do they think, that they've got a better chance of converting someone if this person likes them? These people hate the church.
Sniveling, licking everybody's boots. Let me lick your boots, then maybe you'll convert to my religion.
And I understand being cordial. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand being Christian, but we don't have to placate to these people. It's time to stand up for Christ. It's what he wanted us to do.
That's right.
And to mock these pagan idols instead of bringing them into the Vatican.
Yeah. Let's bring them into Vatican and let people dance around them and stuff. Yeah. And then apologize if somebody, says, nope, that's enough. Let's throw them in the river.
Shameful. Absolutely shameful. All right. Well, that's all I got.
Okay.
Well, guys.
Still made pretty good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about what we said. And as always,
circle the beads.
Oh, and check out our benefactor.
Oh, do we have a benefactor?
We have a benefactor.
Sponsors? Do we have a sponsor?
Sponsor. Our sponsor is starting a new website, and I probably shouldn't even mention it because it's just starting.
Oh, yeah. No, but go ahead and check it out.
But we should mention it.
That's right.
CatholicNuggets.com, as in gold nuggets. CatholicNuggets.com. Go there and see what it is and check it out and submit your own nuggets.
That's right.
All right, thanks.
Bye, everyone.